On today's Homeworthy episode, our apartment series continues, and now the fun moves to our private rooftop, the very feature that made us fall in love with this space. Michael and I are thrilled to be working with Katherine Aul Cervoni, founder and principal of Staghorn NYC, a full-service landscape design firm that services the entire East Coast. With a passion for helping people reconnect with nature, Katherine transforms outdoor spaces into natural extensions of the home. She focuses on low-maintenance, sustainable plants and combines seasonal beauty with everyday practicality to create inviting, approachable spaces that feel like a true retreat. Today, Katherine scouts our rooftop and shares her exciting vision for this one-of-a-kind oasis in the middle of Manhattan. Come along for this terrace transformation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Welcome to our terrace.
Oh, thank you so much, Allison. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. This is Michael.
Oh, great to meet you guys. Thanks for making time today.
Oh my gosh, we are so happy you're here. You're like the fairy godmother for terraces, and we are in a real SOS situation. I mean, look at this place. We have no idea what we're going to do with it.
I know. I mean, and we've heard amazing things. We look down on a lot of rooftops, and we know you've been working in Manhattan at creating some of the most spectacular rooftops in the city. So now to have your eye and vision for our little spot here,
we feel so lucky. We really feel so lucky.
Thank you guys so much. And it's not little, I'll tell you. This is actually, especially by New York City standards, this is quite a lot of space. So I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about what you guys have on your wish list. Tell me about what you're sort of envisioning as far as using this space.
Well, I think Michael is a huge entertainer. Like, he loves entertaining. I like entertaining too. I say Michael might like it a little bit more than I do. But I think we envision it to be not only an entertaining space, but also a place where you have two kids, where they can play up here. And raising kids in New York has its challenges, and the idea of having outdoor space is such a perk for us, that the idea that they could play in a little pot of dirt or plant some flowers or come up here in the morning and water flowers, like, that's really appealing to me. And Michael's from Colorado. He grew up in the great outdoors.
I always like to say the biggest buildings in New York aren't half as tall as our smallest mountains.
Oh my God, for sure. There it is.
A little nature though up here.
So I think that having this like private oasis where we can come in the mornings or in the afternoons after school and water plants or just relax is hugely appealing to us. So I think it's a combination of entertaining, family time. You'll probably want to do cookouts and that kind of thing up here. I don't know, I guess you could even sunbathe here on some kind of a chaise lounge. You've got direct sun.
Yes.
We had an outdoor shower in our last outdoor space.
Okay.
So I can see Michael maybe putting one of those in here. The catch was there was no hot water. It was just cold water. So Michael's the only one who used the shower, nobody else.
Like going in a waterfall each morning.
There we go.
You know, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, just like it. That's incredible.
And I mean, this place has some challenges with like electrical units and like piping and wiring and things. So I think just trying to find ways to hide some of this stuff would be like super helpful. Neither of us really have huge green thumbs. We like the idea of it, but I think with our work schedules and our travel schedules, we're gone a lot.
Yeah.
So things that we can't kill easily would be very helpful.
Low maintenance. Low maintenance, absolutely. Yeah.
You agree?
The game.
Yeah, I think I'm just beyond excited because there's nothing like seeing a little bit of foliage on a rooftop.
Definitely.
I'm with you.
Talk about your experience too. You've been working in New York for a while?
Yes. So this is our 10th season at Staghorn. Staghorn's my landscape design firm, and we design and build spaces in New York City and beyond. But I really love working with rooftops. And the reason why is because you have this blank canvas, and the goal is really to sort of soften all this hardscape. You know, in New York, we have concrete everywhere, concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And so what can we do to sort sort of soften those hard edges, adds a little bit of movement so it's not so harsh, add shade, add screening, and whether that's just like framing an incredible view like you guys have, or hiding something that's unattractive like utilities, but also even sort of creating this feeling of outdoor rooms. That's really what I love making, particularly on rooftop spaces, but any outdoor space. And so how can we sort of create a lounge area, create a living room, and create an outdoor dining room, and these little zones so that you feel like you have special sort of destinations throughout your rooftop. And we can use plants to sort of be the walls and the scaffolding and like the shape, really, the shape making of that space, along with furniture and stuff.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen all of your work online, and what you do is amazing, whether or not it's a small space or a huge estate. I mean, we love your work, and so we're just thrilled that you are going to transform this concrete terrace into something verdant and green.
What I'd love to do is just walk around together. I want to talk about what kind of things you want to be doing up here. So when you're sort of envisioning this space when it's finished, are you imagining like a sectional sofa, maybe an area for maybe like a veggie garden for you and the kiddos?
I love that.
An outdoor dining area. There needs to be space for a grill. Some of the spots that we are not so interested in looking at, so being strategic with the screening.
Sure.
So yeah, let's just look around together and have a look at how this could sort of start to take shape.
Okay. Well, maybe we should spy on some of our neighbors here to get some inspiration.
Perfect,
We've been doing that a lot. We come up to the wall here and look down, and it's so fun to kind of peek and see what's going on. We even have a set of binoculars.
There we go. Were you kind of surprised to see so many gardens once you guys got up here?
Yeah, and like really sophisticated, like elegant ones with like boxwood sort of running along the edge that creates a natural barrier and a wall.
Yeah.
I thought was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
That almost looks like a big vegetable garden down there that's growing. Anyway, the pleasures of living in New York City and being able to spy on everybody. So I don't know, what are you envisioning?
Yeah, I love the idea of barbecuing. I'm not the greatest chef, but you can't really screw up a burger.
There we go.
This time, you know? So having a little place to cook a burger and invite friends over, I think it's just hard to beat. And then I do think I love just lounging outside, working outside, and I think that's in some ways I like the idea of an outdoor office, a place where I can plop down, get some work done, and get some. I'm not tan yet, but give me a little time.
Exactly.
Here.
Michael made a vow that he would come out here every single day.
There we go.
Yeah,
Get the
either for the sunrise or sunset, which you get both of them here. That's what I think is amazing. You can see all the way to the East River on that side, and then you can see across the reservoir to Central Park, and so it's easily, I think, the most beautiful room in the house, and it's got no ceiling.
There we go.
That's
all
funny.
the better.
Yeah.
Well, and it is pretty cool to have this greenhouse here, or whatever we want to call it, orangerie, greenhouse.
Conservatory. Yeah, it's so cool. This is so unique. It's really lucky to have that.
So we'll just build around it. I think probably using this almost as a wall for some of the furniture to be nestled in, and then maybe build out sort of like greenery around the edges. You can see some of our dead plants that we've brought here from our last apartment.
That's okay. That's all right.
These things need some TLC.
Yeah. It's really a testament to them. These are tough ones.
Yeah, we need tough things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, something that's really great about these is that they're evergreen. And
I love evergreens.
There we go. And I like that you mentioned the boxwoods too, because that feels a little bit more classic.
Yeah.
And kind of leads into one of my biggest questions, which is sort of what you guys' interior style is like. That's so important to me in informing an outdoor space so that it feels cohesive.
So I love kind of wild English gardens, wild French gardens, where things almost seem a little bit overgrown in a way. I love things that are sort of wild, like that sort of spring different ways, and things again that don't really need a ton of work, and also it will thrive in sunlight.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of the sort of the biggest challenges and also sort of the biggest boons of this space is having so much sunlight. So it actually kind of widens your options for colorful flowering plants. But we'll need to be really careful to make sure that they can kind of handle the wind conditions and the exposure, especially in winter time. But I know sort of my list of MVP plants that are up to the task.
MVP plants, I love that.
Absolutely, they're my go-tos, and they'll totally up to the task of having that sort of wild, lush, verdant English country style. But be able to manage our winters here too.
And we can also bring not the whole garden in, but we could bring some of the important ones in during the winter.
Great.
You mentioned most people are familiar with having a garden in their backyard. And I grew up in Denver where everyone had a little garden. But on these rooftops, it's a different game. How so?
Definitely. There are a few different things that we have to consider on a rooftop. One of the biggest things, especially in older buildings, pre-war buildings, is that we have to be really sensitive to weight. And so we want to make sure that we're using materials that are within the confines of what the building allows for. Usually there's a certain amount of pounds per square feet that we're allowed to have. But basically we just don't want to have enormous immovable plants and planters up here. But at the same time, they need to be steady enough to be able to manage being in a storm and handling the winds that come in wintertime. So it's sort of a fine line of things that are sturdy and weighed down, but also not too heavy to stress out a building. And then in addition to that, it's just the plants themselves being tough enough to be able to manage those extreme climate conditions. So in a way, being on a rooftop sort of is like a mountaintop condition because of how exposed it is. So we actually are a little bit informed by some of the plantings in the zones, the hardiness zones of plants that thrive in the Denver area and other mountainous places because they don't have the benefit of the ground to insulate roots. And so they're going to be in containers. So we have to be a little bit more careful about choosing things that really have that extra level of toughness for the cold. And then the other sort of secret that's not so secret, but that is really essential to these rooftop gardens is having an irrigation system. And that's really also the secret to a low maintenance garden. Having that water system hooked up to a hose bib is really the way to make sure that a space is thriving and that you can go back and just enjoy the space as opposed to always having to be sort of fussing over it. So we use a really simple system. I like to liken it to sort of an old-fashioned alarm clock, and it really almost kind of looks like one. It's very easy to control. It's battery operated. And yeah, you program it just like an alarm. So you're choosing what time the system is going to turn on. It should always be in the morning. So we usually set our system for 5 a.m. That's sort of the sweet spot for giving everything a nice big drink before they start soaking up the sun. Exactly. And so they need to get watered in the morning, usually once every other day or so. It just sort of depends on the plants, the space, and the time of year. But yeah, it's as close to a set and forget sort of system as you can get to.
I love that.
Yeah. Let's definitely talk about some of these eyesores, for lack of a better word. So
definitely an eyesore.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it?
Building mechanicals, I'm sure.
It's like chimneys coming up into here.
Yeah, this is really part of the game with rooftops. I mean, we've got to have a place for all these utilities to come to a head on rooftops, and so this is where they show up. What I like to do is sort of take these as an opportunity to create something around it. So you really just have to work with it. This, I think, actually happens to be in a good place to create sort of a cluster of planters around this that will sort of create a barrier, almost like a pony wall, if you will, between these two outdoor rooms.
Interesting.
And so we'll be able to do clusters of different size containers. We might do some rectangles in the background, sort of foundational plants, and then different size round containers, maybe terracotta. I noticed you had some over there.
Terracotta. I love that.
Lovely. And doing those in different sizes, sort of like a big family of them all around this area, screening these pipes and these utilities. And not only will that screen them and hide them, keep kids from climbing on them, hide them from sight, but also create a sort of natural separation between these two spaces, which otherwise would sort of kind of bleed into each other a little bit.
I love it.
So it'll work with us, actually. Yeah.
How did you get interested in landscape design and plants and horticulture. That's the right word here?
For sure. So it's an enormous field, and there are a lot of different avenues to take, which is actually something I really love about it. So landscape design is sort of the creation of outdoor spaces in a general way. Garden design within that is creating sort of a traditional ornamental plant garden, and then there's horticulture within that, which is the study of plants. And I really love all aspects of this: the engineering, the building, the furniture, the lighting, the plant life. And so I love that it's sort of engaging the left brain and the right brain, and it's sort of like a jumble in the middle of those two.
You're a one-stop shop.
Thank you. I love the idea of that.
You can do it all.
I love the idea of that. Thank you. But I really got interested in this way back in undergrad. I was studying art history. I was dead set on being an architect. And my dad was like, go get a liberal arts degree, see what's out there. And when I was studying art history, I was focusing on architecture. We got to Versailles, which is thrilling and incredible.
Wow.
But it was the gardens that really blew me away. And when the palace was originally built, the gardens were much more of a feature in a lot of ways than the palace itself. And we went into this deep dive on all the sort of different outdoor rooms that André Lenotre, who was the landscape architect of Versailles, created. And you would walk through having these parties and have bands show up out of nowhere from behind plants. There'd be fountains. So it was this whole like enormous experience of creating outdoor living spaces and spaces to be and destinations and to be inspired. And at the same time, here in New York City, they decided they were going to turn a railroad track called the High Line into the High Line Park. And I saw the early mock-ups for that and just thought, bingo, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm moving to New York City to be a landscape designer, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. What an incredible story.
Thank you.
So what is the next step?
Sure. So what I'm going to do from here is, based on this conversation that we had, I'm going to create sort of a vision board of what I think would make sense for the space. So what kind of plants I think would do well, the containers, different sort of layouts, incorporating furniture, some lighting, that's really essential, and it can be a really simple element too. And then we'll be able to look at that together and hone in on your style, and then put together a palette of plants and an arrangement to go towards installation, and then build out this space for you guys.
So exciting.
Yes.
We really are so excited for this. Thank you, Kat, for making these dreams of ours come to life.
It's my pleasure. This is what I do for fun. I'm so excited to do this for you guys.
Now we just need to get a watering can.
Yeah. Watering can. Yeah. Maybe a hose.
Maybe a hose.
Maybe a hose.
Maybe
a 100-footer. Yep. Go for it. Yeah. Splurge. I'm going to take measurements of the space. I'm going to take some photos.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'm going to plug those measurements into our model, into a CAD. And that way I'll have everything to scale, and I'll be able to plug in different container sizes, our furniture. I'll know exactly what the sizes are so that we can create the arrangement and all of our design plans. So it's to scale, and you guys will know exactly what's going where. Our team will know exactly what's going where. It's the blueprints essentially for your outdoor space.
Awesome.
Excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave you to these measurements.
Terrific.
And then we'll regroup.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank
Kat.
you. Thank you, guys. So right now I'm going to measure this rooftop space, which is really one of the most important first steps for any sort of outdoor landscape design project. The reason being is you really want to be able to be strategic about how many containers or how many plants are in your space. And certainly if you're building a larger area and building out a new patio, for example, you need to make sure you know exactly how much material you have, how it fits into the amount of space you have, how many plantings you need, even measuring the amount of mulch you might need for your space. It's really a critical first step to making sure everything is designed with intention and is also according to plan and mapped out, especially for budgeting and stuff as well. So I've got my laser, and I've created a very rough drawing that is just legible enough for me to be able to read and take back to my computer and plug in the measurements. But I'm going to basically get all these measurements throughout the space so that I really know how many containers are going to be able to fit here, and how we're going to do the layout with the furniture so that everything fits exactly as we want it to. I also have noted what direction north is, which is really important. You want to know what your your sun exposure is. So you want to understand, where is the sun coming up, where is it overhead during the day, and where is it going at the end of the day, not only for capturing views, but also just knowing how much sun you have in your space, which is one of the most important things for choosing plants that are going to succeed and thrive in your new garden. What I'm also doing here is taking pictures, and I'm being really strategic about this because Allison and Michael have some incredible skyline views, and I want to make sure when I'm reviewing the space and planning out where plantings are going, especially ones that are higher or lower, and where furniture is going, I want to make sure that we can take advantage of those views and they can enjoy them as opposed to screening them accidentally. But at the same time, we also want to screen things that are maybe less attractive, such as the utilities and utilities over on this side. So I want to take pictures of those as well, just so I have a really good record of everything in the space and help sort of jog my memory as I'm starting to put together the plan and create the layout and planting plan for them. Hello, guys.
Hello
I didn't have my
again.
shades the first time. Now I'm looking way
Essential.
cooler.
Great to
Oh my
see you.
gosh, we haven't
I know.
seen anything.
Here we are. I know.
This is exciting.
I'm so excited to show these plants to you guys. This is such a plant-heavy project, which is just so fun and exciting. And I feel like I've created just the perfect sort of planting palette for you guys to feel like you've got your little bit of English country oasis meets New York City rooftop.
Are these mirror images of each other?
They are. We get our own set of planting plans. So I actually have a few different plans to go through with you guys today.
Wow.
So we've got a planting plan that's essentially a map of all the plants.
Okay.
There's a guide to go with this because I can imagine looking at this
I see
right
lots of
now,
little dots.
Lots of dots with letters, and that can feel a little esoteric. But there is a guide that we're going to go through.
Oh my gosh.
And
Talk
so we're
about
going to
a
go
pop of
through.
color.
We're going to go
This
through
is
this
awesome.
together.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is basically your planting plan. And this is a map of everything that we're gonna put up here in this space. It's showing the layout of where everything's going. So just to sort of orient us, we're standing right here, right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
okay.
facing this way.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Okay. So here's the greenhouse, and we're here. In
I love it.
In lounge
In
area,
lounge area.
facing this way. So you can see these big utility pipes over
Yes.
here. That
Covered.
is the giant cluster of planters that's going to completely mask that.
I love it.
But I want to back up a second and want to talk to you guys a little bit about the planting palette here because
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. So what I wanted to do is create, again, that sort of piece of like English countryside, very floral, sort of romantic, make it easy so it's low maintenance, and make it appropriate for a New York City rooftop garden. So I have some really exciting news. Some of those sort of froofy plantings like peonies do beautifully on rooftops.
No way.
So the big thing with peonies is that they do have a really short bloom cycle. So we just have like a moment to enjoy them, but they are one of the toughest plants out there. So we're doing
I didn't
them.
know that.
We're doing peonies. We're getting
They
some
seem
peonies
so
up here.
delicate.
Right now, it'll be a short amount of time. If there's a lot of wind, that can blow the petals a little sooner. But
That's okay. I'll cut them off and I'll put them in a vase.
100% cut them off and have these as flowers to enjoy inside for a
Yes.
cutting garden. So what I like to do is I like to start with sort of the foundational plantings. And so these are our larger plantings. So trees. Trees can do really well on a rooftop garden. We even saw some when we were doing our first visit
Yeah.
and looking over at some inspiration at neighbors. So we want to make sure that it's a smaller tree that can do well in a container, but is also tough enough to handle these conditions. So the perfect tree that I think works with you guys' aesthetic is a dogwood. And I'm going with a variety called the Kusa dogwood, which is actually a Korean dogwood.
And
They
my
have-
brother is Korean.
There
I
we
have
go.
an adopted brother from Korea, so that'll fit us.
That's
in
amazing.
Perfect.
solidarity.
I love these flowers. They are blooming actually right about now. So
So
they're sort
pretty.
of a mid-spring. They're a white flower. And it's just a gorgeous tree that can withstand these conditions. It'll have great fall color as well, and it can handle container life for a while. So that's going to be sort of like our big keystone
Okay.
plant
Wait,
for
where is
dimension.
that going?
Okay, back to our map. So I know it's small to read, but if you look at the largest circles, we actually are going to have 3 trees up here. We're going to have one in the corner, so right behind us over here. one in this other corner that I've created right behind you guys right
amazing.
here. And then a third one right in the corner where those utilities are, just be sort of like an anchor right there.
To block that.
Exactly. But it's not going to be so high that it's blocking skyline views. You'll still be able to see through it, but it's sort of creating like a corner to this room, if you will.
I see. Yeah.
And then around it is going to be lower planting, so you'll be able to see around it. And then after that, we have the evergreens, which we talked about too. So I have 2 evergreen plants, and these are really great for adding structure. They're great for having some presence, especially in January and February when things can be a little bleak.
Well, because we can use this greenhouse space in the winter, so to be able to come outside and actually see things still living is really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you come out those doors, you're just going to see the flood of beautiful flowers, plants, and now trees. I didn't even dream of a tree up here. That is spectacular.
We can do trees. So there's what I'm going to use these taller evergreens for is some strategic screening right over here where the big utility section is. So it's basically going to be a hedge within a container, sort of a green wall. And then we're going to use these boxwoods, which are going to be clipped into nice sort of little balls throughout all of our more floriferous plantings. So it'll be these little punctuations that sort of connect all the spaces together. So it's a way of creating a more cohesive design, and also a place for the eyes to rest in between all these gorgeous colors. Going into the shrub layer, this is where we're going to get a lot of fragrance in the garden. So fragrance is so fun to play with. One of the ones that we're going to be using is called mock orange, and it is blooming right now. Gorgeous double blooms, and it smells incredible. We're also going to do some roses. This is a drift rose. I love that in a container. It's going to sort of spill over the sides.
I love that color.
So it's lemon.
Kind of like a butter creamy.
Yes. Lemony, buttery yellow, very in.
We're thinking about all the senses, not just what we're seeing, but what we're smelling.
Exactly. Cut them and bring them inside. Have something that smells good in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So those are some springtime flowers. The roses go through the summer, and then as we sort of get into midsummer is when we're going to get these big, like, fluffy hydrangeas. And so I've got 2 different hydrangeas. One is a bigger one, so it's going to have a larger presence and have a little bit more screening. You're going to see this column right here.
Yep.
And then a few smaller ones, which are just going to be big, fluffy, white flowers.
Pretty.
All the way until the frost, basically. And then some blue is going to come in later in the summer with this Caryopteris.
I love this kind of plant. I see another one here.
Very similar.
I love this plant.
Yeah.
The purple.
I'm so glad. So we want to have, the color palette we're using is pinks, purples, yellows, whites, and then plenty of fresh green. And what I wanted to do is make sure that we have a presence of those colors throughout all the season. So starting in April, May, when the perennials really kind of get going, and perennials are the ones that have sort of a 4 to 12 week bloom period, and then they sort of go into more of like a foliage phase, and then they go dormant in the winter, but they always return in the springtime. So you don't have to replant these. And then we have a couple of annuals just to add a little bit of extra color. And annuals are ones that bloom the entire summer, sort of May until the frost, but they don't survive our winters.
They don't come back.
They don't come back.
You replant.
Exactly. So those are usually start out smaller. They're a little less expensive. You can kind of treat them as like a seasonal plant. So if you wanted to do more of like a spring theme, that would be a place where you could sort of switch those out if we wanted to.
That makes sense. I didn't realize that annuals are possibly less expensive than perennials, because perennials are the gift that keeps giving.
That's correct. That's correct. They're usually a good bit larger too.
Yep.
But that said, the annuals are really good bang for the buck to get a little bit of extra color and like a little bit of filler. So I do like to go heavy on perennials because that's what keeps things really easy and low maintenance.
These are pretty too. I love the orange.
Classic, yes. So that moving into perennials, we're going to start the spring off with Nepeta, which is catmint. This is
love that.
I'm so delighted. Gorgeous, sort of like lavender, electric purple. very fluffy, and that is one of the longest blooming perennials there is. That is going to bloom intermittently from now until October.
It's amazing.
It's such a workhorse. So I love using that to sort of have purple as a constant color throughout the season. For a little bit of drama, we're going to do some irises. This one's called Persian Berry. It sort of skates the line between pink and purple. It reads a little truer if we look at it online. And it's going to be sort of a connector plant between the other more like true purples and pinks.
You really are a storyteller with the colors, with your knowledge of these flowers.
Thank you.
You're just teaching me so much just listening.
Thank you. What I love about these also is that they're reblooming, so they're going to come back here and there throughout the summer, and their foliage can sort of has a bit of character even on its own when it's not flowering. So really clean, upright, just like a nice flat green. It almost reads like an ornamental grass, but so it's looking lovely and a nice filler even when it's not really in bloom. Then we also have some Salvia caridana. She's such a diva. She has like dark black stems and really like really dark but vivid saturated purple flowers. And so that's a nice contrast to the lighter colors. This is Alchemilla mollis, also known as lady's mantle. I like this.
Why do I know this?
So this is sort of like a kind of an old-fashioned plant. It's definitely very sort of like, it's really true to sort of an old English garden style.
I love it.
Very common. Beautiful foliage, and then this sort of chartreuse yellow
Pretty.
to
I love
introduce
that.
a little bit of brightness, a little freshness. Here's our peony. We're going with
Whenever I get her flowers, I'm
you
getting
know.
her peonies.
Yes,
now
you
you can
know
just head
that's at the top of the
upstairs.
list.
You can just come
Yes,
upstairs for a
I'll come
while.
upstairs and find the whole bush just like completely chopped and everything's in a vase.
There we go. I have to tell you the trick about that. It's called the marshmallow test.
What is it?
Oh, do you want to know right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the trick to long-lasting peonies in a vase. So you want to, if you're choosing them at the store or if you're cutting them off of your shrub, you want to do the marshmallow test where you see the bud. It's starting to open. You can see the color of the petals. So it's not the super tight green ball.
Yep.
It's past that, but it's also not open yet. And you squeeze it, it's got the consistency of a soft marshmallow. So it's giving a little bit, but it's not hard, but it's not open.
The worst is when you buy them and you think that you're getting them before they've ripened.
I know.
So that you're gonna have the longest life.
Yeah.
And then they don't.
I know. They don't open. I know.
I will never be ripped
Michael
off
has no
again.
idea what we're talking about. He has no clue what we're talking about.
I'm good at getting
So down the rabbit hole on peonies. Yes.
But this is very exciting.
So exciting.
Yeah. So these will be blooming basically when they get on site. And it's going to just like smell incredible. And I got 3 of them. But even when peonies aren't blooming, they have nice foliage. And so it's just a nice plant even for the rest of the summer.
It's stunning.
Wonderful. Moving into summertime, we're gonna have, this is one of my favorite spillers. If you guys are familiar with like the thriller, filler, spiller idea of doing a container garden, that's where you have something big and tall called the thriller. It's sort of like the wow plant. You have a filler, which is usually more of like a big pom-pom of something. It might be more understated, but is just like a good filler, literally.
Yep.
And then you have a spiller, so something that has sort of like a waterfall effect that goes down the side of a container. And that could be flowering or it could be foliage. But I want to do that in containers.
We do have to watch out for the wind here, folks.
Truly windy. I like to do sort of a modification of that so that we have that feeling throughout, but not for every single container. That could be a little overwhelming. But I like to sort of use that throughout. And so we do have some spillers. And the first one is this Campanula Blue Waterfall.
That's really pretty.
Which has these gorgeous star flowers and it's going to spill over the container and bloom. And then moving from these iris pink into summertime, we're going to have Coreopsis, which is a beautiful tiny little daisy over like really thin, airy kind of foliage. It feels like it's just stars kind of hovering. It's lovely.
It's funny, I've seen these flowers before, but I've never known the official names.
Yeah. This is actually a native. It's a native to North America, so it's great for pollinators. It'll probably, a lot of these are going to bring butterflies up. Yeah.
Stop.
Butterfly magnets.
Oh
up
my
here.
gosh, James is going to be
Fairyland.
obsessed
Versailles
with
has
that.
nothing on this.
They don't know
Right,
what's
right.
going on. Yeah.
This
So
is cool.
the butterflies and pollinators are going to love these. They love these as well. And then this is sort of a classic summertime wildflower called black-eyed Susan
Oh, yeah.
or Rudbeckia.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's just super classic, great pop of yellow, long blooming. Butterflies love it. And then moving into late summer, we've got Perovskia, which is Russian sage. I love using this as an alternative to lavender. It's a little bit larger, a little bit tougher, and a very long bloom period. And it's just so enormous.
This
from
is
the start.
really pretty.
Yes.
This seems wild to me.
Yes, very, very, very lush and right from the start. So we don't need any patience. It delivers right away.
Perfect.
So
That's what I like.
And then one more waterfall to sort of tie in that chartreuse and connect with the yellows is Lysimachia. The common name is Creeping Jenny. And this is a beautiful textural sort of...
Jenny? Like the girl's name Jenny? Creeping Jenny?
I know, poor Jenny. Poor Jenny. She's beautiful. It's okay. It's all right. She's lovely, Jenny. Waterfall
She does
Jenny.
look lovely. She looks stunning.
She does.
I love it.
So she's gonna sort of drip over the side and have that waterfall effect, and it also has really cool fall color. So as your dogwoods are starting to get like those burgundies and reds, some of your shrubs are gonna get some color too. You're also gonna get color here. So you'll really have that sort of quintessential northeastern fall up here.
I might be sneaking ahead here, but I'm very excited to see, is this the vegetable garden?
That's the veggie garden. That's the veggie garden.
Wow.
Yeah, let's talk layout a little bit. So like I said, we're gonna have these taller trees at these corners to sort of create corners and separate these spaces. And then we have the perennials and shrubs throughout to make sure we have moments seasonally and both with the same colors so that there's a sense of balance. With the boxwoods throughout this whole design as sort of like the connector between both spaces. Then this moment over here is going to be you guys' herb and veggie garden. These are going to be two large rectangular planters packed with every sort of herb you can imagine, a couple of veggies too, tomatoes, peppers, and it's going to be a lot of fun for you guys to come up and watch and cook with and enjoy.
I know, so we can run up to the garden and grab some time and go back downstairs and cook.
Make pesto. Yes.
We
Wow.
are beyond grateful.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I am just looking at this, seeing the color, seeing your vision. You really are an artist, and this is your canvas, and we are so thrilled and delighted. So
Thank you.
I cannot wait for all you're doing here. Kat, thank you again. Just to see this, to see the colors and the energy and the creativity you put into the space, and to imagine what it's going to look like in just a few weeks.
This is going to be our favorite room.
Easily.
That's my hope.
Michael's going to be sleeping out here every night. He's going to pitch a tent.
Camping with James and Grace, grilling out here and smelling real flowers. This is a dream. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can't wait to see the big reveal.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Stay tuned. Big reveal coming soon. Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.